Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. This is Kenya Revolutionary. Today, the last day of January 2025, we've just gone through the first month of 2025. Today's topic, South Africa, South Africa versus Rwanda, Kagame versus Ramaphosa, Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa. Where is AU, African Union? Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, it's getting hot in Congo. Is it Congo or Congo Brazzaville or Zaire? Zaire, as we used to call it back in the day. Now, I know, for Kenyans, you're asking yourselves, what has this have to do with Kenya? Because Kenya, we are kind of not too far away from Congo, but we are not exactly bordering Congo. Oh, we have everything to do with it. I'm telling you, we have everything to do with it. And I will get to it. As much, the more I read about this, the more it gets interesting. Arob Promise Baraka, I see, keep also in here. And Laban Misiani. Karibu, karibu. I'm doing good. I'm good. I'm doing good, Laban. I'm doing a little. Uko sawa, Labani. I hope uko sawa, ndugu yangu. But yeah, it has everything to do with everything, as I tell you. Now, Kagame, again, as I mentioned, Kagame has been he's been talking a big talk. Kagame is not mincing his words. He said, forget diplomacy. I am going to speak how I feel. I'm not going to try to be nice about it. Naona tirafiki yangu Labani wewe. Ntawaingiza mkitaka kumenyana. But anyway, so what am I saying? Yeah, Kagame is not missing his words, and there are more troops. Of course, there are some troops already in South African troops on the ground, and I think a few of them lost their lives in the hands of M23. And Ramaphosa is sending some more troops to help the FD something. The government backed, the Congolese government backed, militia who make up part of the Congolese army. Okay, so I see there's a lot. I'm telling you, a lot that's going to happen here. Hit that thing. Yeah. So it's about to get interesting. It's about to get interesting. And I was just asking myself. I was just asking my friend. I was just asking myself. The next AU chairperson will have a heck of a job to kind of try to diffuse the situation that's happening in Congo, because now the world is blaming Congolese. Sorry, the world is blaming the Rwandese president for his involvement, his support for the R23 who have taken over Goma. And again, I don't think the issue is so much the historical nature of the Rwandese who stay in the eastern part of Congo, as far as the Tutsi or whatever the case is, but keep really saying the AU is a useless job. I guess I don't know. It's useless. Yeah, I mean, to Kenya, it's not really. I don't know how Kenya will benefit from Raila going to AU, but I think it's whoever is going to be the AU whatever chairperson will have his work cut out for him, especially in the diplomatic sense of the term, because they'll have to, you know, try to calm down Mr. Felix Tshisekedi, whatever his name is, and also they'll be trying to, you know, calm Mr. Kagame down and also balance that with Ramaphosa, because Ramaphosa is also now furious because South Africa have lost a couple of their soldiers in Congo in the hands of M23. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And that's exactly why Ruto called in an emergency meeting the other day to have Mr. Felix, Mr. Kagame, the Burundi president, Museveni, so that they can sit down and discuss and see what the heck is going on in Congo. How can they, you know, diffuse this situation, because it's getting real. It's getting real in the field. Okay, but Kagame didn't help by just saying, basically, in not so many words, that if South Africa wants smoke, he is outside. He's ready. He's ready. He does not care. Kagame is like, I do not give a dang about South Africa, Mandela, and all that crap. If you come out here, I'm popping somebody. I'm dropping bodies. I don't care. I have a history on this. I don't care. I'll get active. Okay, Kagame. Kagame is something interesting. But Kagame, you know, I've been asking myself, who is really the bad guy in this situation? Is it Paul Kagame or is it Ramaphosa? Ramaphosa is known to be, you know, someone who takes his orders from the mining companies in South Africa. That's what people are saying. They are saying that Ramaphosa, especially the ANC, lost their mojo a long time ago when, you know, when Nelson Mandela left. Actually, even before that, actually, since Chris Hani's death, basically, people started looking at ANC as, you know, they're still strong, but it was kind of infiltrated, and majority of the leaders of the ANC were kind of compromised. They got involved with the big corporations, the mining companies, and they started, playing footsie with the corporation, the big corporations from the West, and even the corporations in South Africa. Okay, and they started, advocating for the corporations more than the people. Okay, and it did not sit well. So that's why you see Jacob Zuma was and is more popular than any other South African leader, even more than Ramaphosa, because Jacob Zuma still stayed true to his roots. He's the only one, who, in fact, he said that he won the election last time, but he was rigged off. Okay, so again, like I said, Cecil Ramaphosa is South Africans don't fancy him that much. Okay, but now on the international field, okay, again, like I say, if you look at the situation, Kagame, yes, it is. There's overwhelming evidence that Kagame is kind of supporting this R23, okay, M23, sorry, and I don't think it will be a problem if these guys just took over the eastern part of Congo without controlling the mining areas or mining Congolese mine resources. Okay, that's what really is making things escalate, because it is saying that Rwanda has built its economy on the back of Congolese minerals. These minerals that are being mined in the eastern part of Congo are being transferred to Rwanda and are being exported and processed as Rwandese, minerals. But in truth, these mines are actually coming from Rwanda. So Congo is saying, listen, we are not going to sit back, Mr. Kagame, while you disrespect our sovereignty, because you're coming out here, you're mining, and you're doing all sorts of things, okay, giving money and arms to this M23 to do all whatever whatever they want. So we're going to put a stop to that. And you can see a majority of the Western corporations and countries, US, France, the usual suspects, they're siding with Felix, saying that Rwanda should move out of Congo. But of course, their intention is not just for Rwanda to move out of Congo, but they are bothered by the fact that Kagame is not giving them a cut in those minerals that they are mining from Eastern Congo. So the West are saying, Kagame, you need to back off or it's going to be some problems. Now, if I was to guess, number one, I hope these two factions find a peaceful resolution into this, because if a war was to go on, I think the biggest loser, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, if the heavy artillery is to be deployed in the area to fight the M23, the biggest loser might be Rwanda. Rwanda is a landlocked country, a small country. Yes, they are very proud of their army and they think that they can take on South Africa. South African army by itself, I don't think they're that great. They are one of the strongest army in Africa, but I don't think they're that great to kind of, them alone are not enough to, handle Kagame. But I think South Africa will not be just by themselves to dealing with Rwanda. I think if worst comes to the worst, remember, Ramaphosa is friends with Uncle Putin. And Uncle Putin, if Uncle Putin send the Wagner group, I'm telling you, Kagame, it's over. It's over. They're not going to mess around with you. Remember, Mr. Ibrahim Traore is alive because of Russia. Let's not get it twisted. It is Russia who backed Ibrahim Traore. That's the reason why Ibrahim Traore has, nullified and fought off the West and kicked them out and stabilized the country, and has an opportunity to improve the country there, the country of Burkina Faso. In fact, they just made their first electric car. But all this economic development can only happen if you have peace in the area. And it was Wagner Group, Russians. Okay, the Wagner Group, of course, it was dismantled, and now it's actually a national mercenary group now. It's not a private mercenary group now. It's now a Russia, part of an extension of Russian defense force. But what I'm saying is this: Ibrahim Traore only survived all those assassination attempts and the attacks from France, from the terrorists there that are backed by the French and the Americans, because the Russians were behind it. And I'm saying this: if things go left with Kagame, if Kagame really put pressure and start knocking South African bodies, listen, Ramaphosa can always call Uncle Putin, and if Uncle Putin gets in, it's game over for Gaddafi. I mean, for Kagame. Kagame is known to have he was trained by the US. The CIA got him into power to stabilize things there, and he did what he did. So, okay. Promise Baraka said, bring the link. I'll bring him the link right now as he's asking for it. I'm somewhere outside, so it's raining, so bear with me. Let me put in the link so I can hear what Mr. Barak is about to tell me. All right. There's the link. Let me put it up. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades, here it is. Here's the link. If you're ready, come up, hit the link and come in. Tell me your 2 cents. In other news, before as I digress a little bit, let me just talk on the Kenyan side, on the local side. Muturi was talking about these abductions. He was giving I think he was he's basically telling Ruto, hey, listen, Ruto, how can you talk about economy for our kids who are supposed to enjoy this wonderful economy that you're trying to create to Neo? If you're going to abduct them and kill them, how are they going to enjoy the economic whatever that you want? Okay, let me add Mr. Nyag. All right, Karibu Jared, what's on your mind, sir?
How are you?
I am doing good. I'm in a good mood. I'm drinking chai ya Kenya Ketepa, and it's raining wherever I am, but I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, I'm glad to hear from you.
I'm glad to hear from you too.
I am among some of the people who have done great research on the East African geopolitics. I told you people to buy my book. You don't want to buy it. But anyway, it's still good. But, let me explain what I know.
Tell us where we can find the book, so that people who are listening can buy it, and the name of the title of the book. I'm going to promote it. I'll make it a personal whatever to promote your book. Go ahead and tell us where we can find it and the name of the book.
Okay, perhaps I'll put it in the inbox later on, but let me just proceed and explain myself.
Okay.
You know, the genesis of the problem, you know, in the Eastern Congo DRC is related, you know, to the Rwandan genocide of the 1994. You remember, after the Rwandan genocide of 1994, the Hutus who participated, you know, in the genocide, you know, most of them ran into Eastern Congo DRC. And if you know the history, the relationship between Mobutu Sese Seko then and the late president of Rwanda, Habyarimana, you know, they were buddies. They were very good friends. They were very, very good friends. And it's said that even after he was killed, it is Mobutu who took over the body of, you know, Habyarimana and preserved it in Kinshasa. So, you know, there was that relationship between Mobutu Sese Seko and Habyarimana. So, after the genocide in 1994, majority of the Hutus, you know, ran into Eastern Congo. And because, you know, Paul Kagame, who was then, Paul Kagame at that time was the vice president and minister for defense, you know, felt threatened because, you know, he felt that, you know, with the Hutus, you know, inside Congo, you know, he felt that, you know, there was that likelihood of them regrouping and coming back to fight. So what did he do? That time, you know, Mobutu Sese Seko was also facing a challenge because, you know, Laurent Kabila, the father to Joseph Kabila, was also fighting to topple him. So what did Kagame do? The Rwandan forces, you know, joined Laurent Kabila, and you know Laurent Kabila was using the Banyamulenge. The Banyamulenge are Tutsis, but you know, domiciled in Congo DRC. So Laurent Kabila was using the Banyamulenge, you know, to fight. You know, they were his militia. So you know, Rwanda, you know, joining Laurent Kabila, you know, and together with Uganda, they fought and, you know, they toppled Mobutu Sese Seko, and, you know, that became the end of the reign of, you know, Mobutu Sese Seko. And that's what is called, you know, the First Congo War. If you have read about the First Congo War, the First Congo War was about toppling, you know, Mobutu Sese Seko. After they toppled Mobutu Sese Seko, something funny happened. You know, I believe that I think Uganda and Rwanda thought that, you know, Laurent Kabila was going to be their puppet. So they were the ones that were going to control the government in Kinshasa. But, you know, the majority of Congolese were not happy with the involvement, you know, of Uganda and Rwanda in the management of the affairs of their country. So they complained. And because Laurent Kabila, you know, felt the heat, you know, he gave Rwanda and Uganda 6 months, you know, to pull out of, you know, Congo. And because, you know, already Uganda and Rwanda were enjoying, you know, they were looting the resources in Congo, which means they were enjoying, you know, or they had tested what we say, you know, they had tested the blood. And having tested the good blood in Congo, DRC, they did not want to leave. So what did they do? They started another round of war that is famously called the African World War. If you have read of the African World War, that war was fought in Congo DRC in the year 1998, 1997, 98 up to 99, the African World War. So what saved Laurent Kabila at that particular point was, you know, the SADC agreement, because, you know, Congo DRC is a member of SADC. And, you know, in the SADC instrument, you know, there's a clause that reads that, you know, if you attack one of them, then you are perceived to have attacked the entire SADC. So, you know, the SADC membership then, I believe, that consisted of Zimbabwe, Angola. I don't remember some of the, but I can remember Zimbabwe, Angola, and some of the countries from SADC, came in,
South Africa
to help,
South Africa too.
South Africa too. You're right. South Africa too came in because Uganda was going to topple Laurent Kabila. They were going to topple him, but South Africa, then Namibia, I think Zimbabwe, they came in fourthly, and they fought for 2 or 3 years, and that's how they safeguarded, Kinshasa from being overrun. Later on, they came up with agreement. What was the what was the Rwanda agreement, among various agreements that allowed for the pulling out of these forces. So that's what allowed for now the creation of the real government in Congo DRC under Joseph Kabila, I believe, in the year 2005. What happens? There was an agreement that the members of the Banyamulenge were going to be incorporated in the army. The Banyamulenge are Tutsis, but they are Tutsis who are Congolese. Just like we have Maasais, but who are Tanzanians, and there are Maasais who are Kenyan.
Yes.
But there was a problem, that there was that agreement that the Congolese government was going to incorporate members of the Banyamulenge into the army. But unfortunately, they did not live up to the deal. So in 2009, what was then called CNP, that later became the M23, started fighting. They fought, and they overran Goma. This Goma that has been overrun today was overrun in 2009 or 2012. Either 2009 or 2012, it was overrun. And the reason why that town was salvaged is because, the United Nations forces came in strongly and they pushed, the M23 forces out of Goma, but they overran it. That was the first time, M23 overran, Goma. So again, there were agreement, and that was during the reign of Joseph Kabila. So there was agreement between the M23, then the Rwanda and Congo DRC. But the one problem with Congo DRC is that it does not have an army. This is a country that seems not to have an army at all. Mobutu Sese Seko looted the country but forgot to build an army. So they have a very, very weak army. So that's why Congo DRC most of the time depends on what we call mutual agreements, especially with Rwanda, because at the end of the day, Congo DRC is unable to defend its own border. So what happened was that in the year 2022, the M23 resurfaced again. I believe that is the year that Congo DRC formally joined the East African community. I believe I remember it was in the month of April 2022. Oh, that's the year that they joined the East African community formally. A week before they joined East African community, M23 attacked again. And after they attacked, Congo became part of the East African community. Then there was the Nairobi process, under President Uhuru Kenyatta, that was trying, to bring peace in the Eastern Congo. Then there was the Rwanda process also under the president of Mozambique, who was the chairman of SADC then. But, all these processes, seems to have failed. And the reason why these processes seem to have failed is because of the vested interest in the Congo DRC. When I talk about Congo DRC, I mean Eastern Congo DRC. There are many vested interests there. And these interests are because of the natural resources that are in the Eastern Congo DRC. Uganda are looting, the resources in the Eastern Congo DRC. Just like you correctly said, some of us who have researched on this topic believe that Kigali, that people celebrate today, has been built on resources stolen from Congo DRC. And there is this talk by, Kagame himself, who always claimed that, the road to Kinshasa starts from Kigali. That's what he always says, that, the road to Kinshasa starts from Kigali. That's the claim. The claim. So, he believes that, he has control, over a section of the Congo. So where this thing has reached, and, given the vested interest, because, SADC is an economic bloc, and other than being an economic bloc, it has a pact of defending one of its own. And the reason why, SADC had admitted Congo DRC into its membership is because of the resources that are in the Eastern Congo. And that's why, they are ready to fight tooth and nail, to protect, Congo DRC today. As we speak today, Burundi, although Burundi is not a member of SADC, is a member of East African Community, is fighting alongside, the Congolese army. Unlike what was in 1998, when, they were fighting against the Congolese. Today, they are fighting alongside, the Congolese army. Because I don't want to take a long time here, perhaps I want to allow somebody else to come in. I want to look at, the talk, the Kagame talk, against, South Africa. South Africa, I believe, has the strongest army on the continent of Africa today. It has the strongest army in terms of, equipments. Ethiopia, in terms of boots, the physical soldiers, could be having the largest army. But, South Africa has the strongest army because their Air Force, their Army, and their Navy, these are well-equipped, units. So when I listen to Paul Kagame and he's daring, Cyril Ramaphosa, and at the point where, South Africa has lost, its men in the Eastern Congo DRC, that is a very dangerous step that, is taking. You cannot dare a country like South Africa because, South Africa needs only a point within Eastern Congo from where they can strike. And, if South Africa was to go to war with Congo, let me tell you, Congo will become another Palestine, in 1 minute. They can bring it down because they have. Hello? No, what are you saying?
I wanted to say that I think Ramaphosa will be on the Felix Congolese side. I think Ramaphosa has more problem with M23, which is that's why Kagame was daring them.
That's the point. It is true because there are reports after reports, United Nations experts reports that, have pointed out directly that, that Kagame and Museveni are funding the M23. Look at the type of equipment, the M23, which is supposed to be a militia, are using. Where are they getting them? For the militia to own some of the equipment that we saw them use, even in Goma, somebody else must be facilitating them. And, there are reports, United Nations Security Council reports that, are pointing fingers at Uganda and Rwanda for supporting, the M23. And on the other end, because of, Congo being a member of SADC, South Africa is supporting Congo. And, that's where the mix is. And here we are seeing, Kagame daring, South Africa to come in. In fact, you're daring them to come in. If they think that confrontation is the way to go, that's what he said. You're daring them to come in. But can he manage, to confront South Africa? Can he manage to confront South Africa? Because already South Africa has a place, from where to strike. They have a point within Eastern Congo DRC from where to strike. They can put their base within Eastern Congo DRC, and from there they will strike Kigali. And within no minutes, Kigali won't be the Kigali we know today. So, Kagame is playing a very, very dangerous game. And again, I believe the West is also tired, with the games of Paul Kagame. Because already America is threatening to withhold aid. I believe Britain has
It's
already
Britain,
withheld,
yeah.
I think,
Mm-hmm.
Britain has already withheld, I think, 500, equivalent of Kenya shillings, 500 billion dollars, I believe, equivalent of Kenya shillings. Germany is also threatening to withhold. So I think the West are also tired, with the dirty games being played by Kagame. So, Kagame, where he stands today, is a lonely man. And that's why, if you watch him on television, he sounded a very desperate man. Even when he was trying to, throw words at, series of Ramaphosa, from where I stood, he sounded a very, very, desperate person because, everybody is saying him to be an enemy of peace. This is a guy who wants to become the African Putney, and I've written it in my book. He wants to become the African Putney. But can he become the Putney in Africa? Is it possible for him to become Putney who can be hitting everybody left, right, and center? It's not possible. Let me tell you, among the neighbors of Rwanda, it's only Tanzania that Rwanda has never confronted. Rwanda has confronted Burundi. Rwanda has confronted Uganda. Rwanda is confronting Congo DRC. It's only Tanzania they have never confronted. So Rwanda is never a good neighbor. Its own history that Rwanda is never a good neighbor. And this is a country that is always preparing. Kama achokozi A, kesho is chokoza ring B. If it's not chokoza ring B, kesho kucho is chokoza ring C. That's how Rwanda is behaving, I don't know whether that is a means of trying, to put their military into practice, but, they have been doing that thing, over the last 10, 15 years. But up and down on South Africa, and the way I listened, with South Africa, if you're not very, very careful, because South Africa are saying that, it is the M23 that killed their men. And it is the M23 that is being supported by Rwanda. So, if it's M23 that is being supported by Rwanda that killed their men, then Rwanda becomes an aggressor. And internationally, how do you deal with an aggressor? Under the international law, there is what we call, the right of defense. If there is an aggressor, you defend yourself. So, in the line of trying to defend, Congo DRC, there is a likelihood that, South Africa could attack Rwanda. A basic example before I just finish is what happened with, Nyerere. Nyerere, after Amini, attacked Kagera in 1978. What did he do? He moved in, that time Tanzania had one of the weakest armies, but what did he say? He said that, they had the will to fight on. And they fought on. And, everybody in Tanzania was fighting, whether you were a military man or a civilian, everybody was fighting. And, today I've heard, the Congolese president telling people in Bukavu that, be ready. Whether you are a military man or a civilian, be ready to confront, the M23. So, and already Burundi, M23 was moving towards Burundi. And no, sorry, not towards Burundi, but towards Bukavu. But with the help of the Burundian army, the Congolese army has been in a position, to stop, the M23 from moving towards, Bukavu. So it is going to be very, very interesting. But where South Africa stands, their ego, kiburi yao imeshikwa kidogo, and they are not very, very happy people. And anytime, I don't know what could happen, because tonight I understand that SADC was meeting, the SADC heads of states were meeting, and I don't know what they are going to agree on. They could agree that they continue defending Congo DRC, and if they say that they continue defending Congo DRC, then we could see the third African World War.
Right. That's a very good description of what's happening. Now, it hits home at some point, because if you remember, and I believe most of you remember, there was a funny phone call, recorded phone call of none other than Moses Wetangula, who was making a call to one of the Arabs somewhere in Dubai or whatever, this Emirates, whatever. And this businessman was kind of disgruntled over the fact that, he was supposed to be getting some shipment of gold or whatever the case is, the gold from Congo or whatever it is. And then Mr. Wetangula was telling him, listen, I will iron things out, and he kind of named Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. And so it is said that Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, and even Ruto himself, they have some interest. They have their businesses. I don't know if it's a gold business deep in Congo. So this Congo, everyone is kind of seems to be having their hands on this jar. And it will be interesting to see how Kenya's plays a part in this conflict. Ruto, I mean, we all saw that Ruto, he received a huge backlash on the international stage when he said that the first person he called was Macron. Macron, who's been one of the colonialists who have, made Congo become Congo as it is. So I wonder if Raila Odinga, and I don't know if he's going to make it the AU, but whoever is going to be the AU chairperson, he has his work cut out for him. Because, I mean, look at that situation. How would you go about it? Of course, he has business interest in there based on that phone call by Mr. Nani, the Speaker of the House, who made that call. So this South African issue, this Congo issue, as I see it, to me, I think the biggest loser will probably be Kagame. It just depends on how Kagame wants to go down. If he's going to lay down, or he's just going to say, if I'm going down, then I'll take somebody down with me. But I just want to get your view on how this might affect Ruto's position in the international stage, especially in African state. And can this also affect Raila Odinga's chances, since, Kagame seems to be kind of not happy. I don't know if Ruto took a stance. Is he siding with Ramaphosa, or is he siding with Kagame? I doubt if he's siding with Kagame, because he made the call to France. So, and the West are not happy with Nino. So, what do you think?
This is what I want to say.
Yes.
I was watching a clip on YouTube today by one of the lady. I've just forgotten her name. And I want to agree with that lady that, it sounds cumbersome that, we have an African problem here where there is a militia attacking a sovereign African country. And you, as the chairman of the East African Community Summit, the first person you call is a president in Europe, called Macron, the president of France. It looks so cumbersome. It looks so cumbersome because people were saying, because, already South Africa had suffered casualties. The first person, President William Samoei Ruto could have called was perhaps, Cyril Ramaphosa, to pass messages of condolences and then update him on the need of involving, the East African community into bringing peace into the Eastern Congo. But who does he call? He calls a person in Europe, a person, many African countries are trying to run away from. So you are asking me, what implications is it likely to have on the Raila Odinga's candidacy for the African Union Commission chairperson? This might take, I posted it today on my Facebook page and people called me a tribalist. Then I was asking myself, you guys are calling me a tribalist. Is the Djibouti guy, from my tribe? Because I come from a small community called Banyala on the shore of Lake Victoria, and we don't have any big person in this government, because we are among the marginalized communities. Mm-hmm. So this is my take. That's just by the way. This is my take. Already Ruto is being seen as a puppet of the West. Mm-hmm. Ruto is still already being seen as a puppet of the West. And for a long time, there are many African leaders who have been perceiving Ruto as a puppet of the West. And by him, taking a a phone and calling, Macron instead of calling any other African leaders. It's confirming, that perception that is a puppet of the West. So Raila Odinga, who is being fronted by William Samoei Ruto, will by extension be seen as somebody else's puppet. Do you want to tell me that, African president, will be ready to vote in a puppet, as the chairperson of the African Union Commission? These are questions that we need to ask ourselves. And again, remember, the SADC is a 16-member state. They are 16-member states, and they speak in one language. So, today where things stand, and with many people believing that, President William Samoei Ruto is siding with Paul Kagame. So, the SADC vote of 16 members is likely to go. So, Raila Odinga could start, this particular contest minus 16 member support. Minus 16 member support. And when I say 16, this
we are losing you,
who our neighbors never voted for Amina. You remember?
Can you say that one more time? Because you kind of...
They never voted for Amina.
Yes. You're right. Even Amina, you can...
They never voted for Amina.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Yeah. Like I was saying, I mean, you can argue that Amina was not that of Raila's stature as far as like, being known. One can argue that, but nevertheless, I think you make a good point. This issue might not play well, as far as this Congo issue might not play well when it comes to Raila's chances. Now, let me take you back to what's happened, because I have...
before you take me back, let me just conclude. I've talked of 16 member SADC states that are likely, not to vote for Raila because of, the belief that, William Samoei Ruto is one, a puppet. Second, is pro-Paul Kagame. Then there are West African countries that are delinking, from France. So when they hear that, you have called the French president, they treat you like his puppet. So, Raila Odinga is also likely to lose some votes from West Africa. Then by losing votes, from SADC, and by losing votes from West Africa, how does he become, the chair of the African Union Commission? I don't see how he'll become. There's a big likelihood that he could lose this particular election.
Yes. I agree, and I don't know where the new Ghanaian president's stance is. I think he's also more, he's also against the West, and he's really admires Ibrahim Traore. So I think Raila is not in a good position. Now, I wanted to get your take on what Muturi said today regarding these kids that just, these young men. Let me not call them kids. These young men, no longer 3, who 2 are found to have lost their lives or in a mortuary somewhere else. Then also the new form, the usual coalitions that we usually have, political coalition with Wamalwa and the rest. What's your take on that? I haven't heard from you, so I wanted to ask you what's your take on those 2 issues.
I'm not young today. I'm 50 years, so I've lived in this country for quite a while now. So I understand 1 or 2 things about this country. I know a little bit about the Kenyatta reign. Then I during my childhood, I grew during Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi's times. And these gentlemen never targeted ordinary people. This is what I've argued. They never targeted ordinary people. They were targeting academicians, top politicians. They were never going for the ordinary mamamboga, the ordinary boda, And when they did not like you, they detained you. The way they detained Ngugi wa Thiong'o, the way they detained Raila Odinga, the way they detained Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Koiwa and the like. But there is a new tendency that is cropping up, and that is scary. That we are seeing ordinary people, border guys, jobless guys, young people people I say who cannot hurt even a fly, being targeted by the state. Some of them are being abducted. Some of them are being found dead in the manner that we have seen with the Mulolongo 2. There was Mulolongo 4. Already we know that 2 of them could be dead. The other 2, we don't know where they are. It's such a saddening thing. And, you wonder, why would a state be targeting ordinary people? Because ordinarily, states, don't target ordinary people, because ordinary people, are not a threat to anything all over the world, even among dictatorial regimes, the states don't target ordinary people. They target, the top cream who are perceived, to be a threat to them. But in Kenya, we are seeing ordinary people just like me here, you are being abducted, by people who are armed, and then you either disappear for good or you are released after some time. So yeah, I believe, if you are not very, very careful as a country, we are getting towards anarchy. Because when I say we are getting towards anarchy, if the state, which is supposed to be the custodian of the rule of law, is bypassing the same rule of law by exercising what I call extrajudicial means, that includes, abductions and killing, then, the country could end up into anarchy. The country could end up into anarchy. And, by saying it will end up into anarchy, you saw a scenario in Kirinyaga the other time where police wanted to arrest somebody and they were in civilian clothes. And, Wananchi said, we are not going to allow you people to arrest her unless you can identify yourselves, unless you can tell us who you are. So, if we continue in the manner that we are in, we could get into anarchy. And at the end of the day, again, do we want to be a country where people live in fear? The last time these things happened was in Uganda during Idi Amin Dada, when he operated what was called, the State Research Bureau. Are we having an equivalent of the State Research Bureau in this country that can abduct people, disappear them, kill them? Are we having an equivalent of that? These are questions that we need to ask. And that's why, I agree with Muturi, for you to see a government minister who is supposed to be accountable on what we call collective responsibility, coming out to talk about something, he must be fed up. He must be a fed up guy. He's fed up. And, he was a victim of the same. His son was abducted. And he says that, if perhaps he did not have, the access to the president, perhaps, we never know what could have happened to his son. And he was asking today, what happens to those people who do not have access to the president? At least I had that access to the president. What happens to people who don't have access to the president and their people are being, kidnapped? What happens, to them? So, we are not at a very, very good place as a country. And, this is because of a regime that, has suffered what I call, the legitimacy question. President William Samoei Ruto could be legally the president of the Republic of Kenya because the law protects him as such. But legitimately, what do the people of Kenya perceive him as? That's the question. And because, he has suffered that legitimacy question, that's why, we are seeing funny things, people must be made to live in fear. You remember what I used to tell you about 1980s, where, there were talks of, even wars had ears, We seem to be back to those times where, even wars have ears. Nobody would be ready to talk, because everybody will be scared. You don't know who you are talking to. You don't know when next you'll be abducted. We are not at a very, very good place. Finally, on the issue of, the coalitions that are coming up, what we saw with Wakina Gachagua, Wakina Musalia Mudavadi, not Musalia Mudavadi, sorry, not Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa. There is one agreement among the people of Kenya. The people of Kenya, where they stand today at almost 80 and 90%, they will tell you that, we know the person will not vote for. They know that they know the person they will not vote for, and the person they will not vote for is William Samoei Ruto. That's what 70, 80, 90% of Kenyans are saying. But the dilemma is on who they will vote for. Because where we stand, we don't seem to know who we will vote for. As much as we know who we are supposed to vote against, but we don't know who we'll vote for. And I've told you here severally that, we are all mortals, nobody is an angel. And, the majority of Kenyans are in agreement that, William Samoei Ruto has let them down. As president of the Republic of Kenya, in 2 years, he has run down the country. And, perhaps it's time for him to go. So this particular arrangement that I've seen, within bringing on table wakina Rigathi Gachagua, wakina Kalonzo Musyoka, wakina Matiang'i, wakina Eugene Wamalwa. Uh, I've seen, pro-government people underrating them, calling them Cerelac, a Cerelac team, that's what they are calling them. But, don't underrate it because, we are dealing with a population that is annoyed. I told you the other time here that William Samoei Ruto has opened what I call, so many war fronts. Today, he has a war front in Mount Kenya. He has a war front, over the abductions. He has a war front, over the university model system. He has a war front because of share shift. He has so many war fronts. And, because of this war front, it does not become easy, to win that particular battle if you have so many war fronts. So if these people, as much as they are being called, a Cerelac team, a team that, that will go nowhere, that's what pro-Ruto people are calling them. But if they were to organize themselves properly in the manner that, the Raila Odinga group in 2002 organized themselves, then there is a likelihood that they could send William Samoei Ruto home, That would perhaps be my observation.
I would like to have your opinion on this too. This is my view, and you are free to challenge it or just comment on it or whatever the case is. To me, I'm asking myself this. Yes, we can all agree that Ruto needs to be removed like yesterday. But to me, as I see it, I don't think Ruto is the root cause of the problem. He's actually the symptom. Yes, we are feeling the pinch and all this. So here's what I was thinking. Why is it that every electioneering period, we have this same recycled politician parading, telling us we have a binary choice between this candidate X and this coalition that's basically former colleague of the same crop of corrupt politicians. Basically, if you go to if you were to go to 2027 with everybody that we've had their name fronted as the presidential candidate, it's basically Ruto who is part of this electoral, political elites versus this coalition, whether it's Kalonzo, Karua, whatever, Matiangi, they're all the same. So why is it that we still buy that? Because when I was looking at Gen Z were actually asking for a total overhaul of the system. That was part of the choice because they were tired of the same politicians, same MPs, same president, same. You see what I'm saying? So why is it that we are being sucked into this thinking that we either vote for Kasongo, who we are most likely going to reject, or vote for these coalition members who, in my opinion, are just going to perform the same. They'll do the very same thing Kasongo is doing. If you put Matiangi there, I don't see any change. If you put anybody there that you're naming Gachagua, Karua, there'll be no change. They'll be doing the very same thing Kasongo is doing in different levels, maybe in different degrees, but the very same things will, and their past has proven that. So why can't we just look at it as let's have an overhaul of the whole system? Or is it that too radical for Kenyans to or Kenyans are not ready to think on that in those terms?
They say that, a change is as good as a rest. And again, unless we are going to have, a total revolution, it won't be very, very possible to overhaul the entire system because, they are the same people that we still have. Because, building a new person that can perhaps attend a particular amongst the common population, is not as easy as we might want to perceive. And that's why, people will always want to go for a person they at least know. And that's why I've told you that, nobody's an angel. And that's why there are always comparisons between perhaps Matiang'i and William Samoei Ruto, who could be a better guy. Because we know they are all evil, but who is a lesser evil here? It's just like what we had in the United States, where people voted out, Trump brought in Joe Biden. They almost voted out, Joe Biden. Joe Biden, decided to allow, Harris to run, but they still went for Trump because, it was Trump that they were seeing. We are in almost a same, scenario where, that the people we are seeing are the same people. But here, what we need to analyze is, who is a lesser evil, perhaps between Matiang'i and William Samoei Ruto, who is a lesser evil, because we are agreeing that all these people are evil. Nobody is an angel here, but who is a lesser evil. So, we are dealing with a scenario of trying to analyze, who is a lesser evil. And that's why, Kenyans this time are saying, we'll go for a lesser evil. By the way, Matiang'i.
Isn't that the same thing we did in 2022 with the lesser evil argument, and we ended up with Ruto?
I don't think so, because what happened in 2022 was not was what I'll call, total political conmanship, where you play what I call, class politics. That was purely class politics, dynasty versus, dynasty versus what? Hustlers, that was a pure class politics, that William Samoei Ruto introduced. And, it is the same politics that is now, playing against him. People are saying, you said that, it was dynasty versus, hustlers. But, the people we are seeing you incorporating are only the dynasties. And, other than, that particular point, I've told you that, the biggest problem with William Samoei Ruto are the many, war battles that he has opened. He has so many war battles. And it is the reason why Kenyans are ready to go for a lesser evil. They are agreeing that all these people are evil, but they are saying that, this time round we are ready to go for a lesser evil. You remember the other time I told you that, we are in a scenario where if, a shepherd dog was to contest against William Samoei Ruto, Kenyans could very easily vote for a shepherd dog. That's where we are.
Okay, Jared, let me give you this. Let me give you this say. You know that say which says that if you what does it say? A thief is a thief, but if you educate a thief, you just you increased his capabilities, capacity to steal more. Have you ever heard something like that? I'll say like that. So I'm saying that to make this point, that now we are arguing that there's this lesser evil, but you can call them lesser evil because they are not in the position that Ruto is in to steal in the same capacity as Ruto, because they don't have the same capacity. They don't have the same power that they do. But if you put them in that seat, they'll do exactly the same as Ruto is doing, or even more worse. And I think that was the case. You rightfully mentioned that it was a class war, that Ruto coined that narrative that, Hustlers versus Ninio. And some people are saying Ruto is a lesser evil, is, from a lower class. He's speaking for us, and we fell into that trap. And again, now you're saying, we have lesser evil and whatever evil. And I'm saying these people are only lesser evil because they do not have the instruments of power like Ruto. If they do have it, they will do the same. I mean, give me a reason. If I was to employ you as Matiangi's campaign manager, give me a point that would move me to vote for you. What difference is there between Matiangi and Ruto? Matiangi was internal security and he was gunning people down. There was abductions. There were killings by the police. There were people getting lost in Rivayala. How different is that with Ruto? I mean, if he gets to the same position in the same seat as Ruto, which has a lot of power, he'll probably do the same, even even worse. He's been caught in that Ruaraka land issue. I mean, these are the same people. Same thing with Karua. Same thing with Waititu. Same thing with, maybe not Wamalwa, but Wamalwa is just, whatever. Musalia Mudavadi, Gachagua. You see what I'm saying? So it's just, they're lesser evil because they haven't sat on that powerful seat. If they sit there, they'll probably do the same thing as Ruto. And even worse. That's my argument. That's why yeah, go ahead.
I started my argument by telling you that, a change is as good as a rest. Many Kenyans, where they stand today, they feel very disappointed with the regime of William Samoei Ruto, because they feel that, he has let the people of Kenya down. So to them, where they stand, perhaps, all they want is a change that could be as good as the rest. But, on overall, I agree with you that, they could be same people. And perhaps if we were to vote in, Matiangi, or perhaps who else, Matiangi, or Martha Karua, or Gachagua, they could even perhaps be worse than, William Samoei Ruto. I agree with you on that particular point. But where the people of Kenya, have been pushed to today, to this point, they feel that, a change is as good as the rest. And that's why, perhaps they want to have a change.
Okay. So to me, in 2027, if we are not, this is my personal opinion, if we are not going to have a total overhaul of the system, I think we are going to have, either Ruto rigging himself back in because he has captured everything, or we are going to have an alternative, which is one of these coalition members who will bring the same thing. Same thing as Ruto, different players, same thing. So but that's my opinion. I might be wrong, right? We don't know what's going to happen.
And that's why, if you have been keen on what I've always argued on, the reason why, perhaps America is moving forward, irrespective of even having a rogue president like, Trump, because Trump is a rogue president. Look at what he's already saying. He's saying that, he's going to levy 25%, tariff on Canada and Mexico. He's coming up with very, very far. The other time, he was trying to abolish, the right by bus. But because, we have what we call strong institutions in America, they are ready, they are in a position to safeguard, the state that is America. So, in this country called Kenya, what we need to do is to continue developing strong institutions. Because if we can have a strong judiciary, if we can end up having a strong parliament, if we can, you asking?
I was just asking. I agree with you. We need strong institutions, but how do we do that if these members of judiciary are being bribed and captured by the executive? I mean, but I'll give them a salute, because I saw Justice Mwita ruled over the whole appointment of a judge to the East African whatever. I don't know if you saw that, but go ahead. I was just wondering, how do we strengthen these institutions if we have an executive who have basically bought off everybody?
I know that Rome was never built in one day, and this is a challenge that we have as a nation. Because, the biggest problem that we have had as a country called Kenya is what I call, personalization of power instead of, institutionalization of power. where when the president, when a president becomes president, then every power belongs to the president, and it has been our problem since 1964, when Kenya became a republic and Jomo Kenyatta became president. So it has been about personalization of power instead of institutionalization of power, where when the president becomes president, he becomes the alpha and the omega, the giver of the oxygen that we breathe. And we need to run away from that point as a people. We need to run away from that point. You have asked me, how are we going to do it? I, I might not have an answer for you, because I also don't know how we are going to do it. But we have a challenge. That's the challenge that we have as a country. We need to develop stronger institutions, so that Kenya becomes an institutionalized nation, and like where it is today, a personalized nation. The reason why you are seeing abductions, is because Kenya is personalized. The president is the alpha and the omega. That's why you can't be abducted from your home. But if it was an institutionalized nation running on strong institutions, we could not have been where we are. Because with strong institutions, I don't care who the president is. The Americans, even with what they call, the football. The football is that briefcase, that the president carries around, that has, the passwords, I understand, for the nuclear bomb,
Yeah.
because of the strong institutions in America, they don't care even if the president is wrong and is walking around with the football, because they know that he cannot misuse it, because of the strong institutions that America has today. So we must fight for strong institutions in this country, so that even if we were to elect a dog as a president, then we will be comfortable, because the institutions will be there to protect us as the people of Kenya.
That's a good point. I would say that the way to strengthen the institutions is for us to go to the streets. You saw when we went to the streets, the rogue parliament got their act together and decided to reject the finance bill. At least they pretended that they were rejecting it. The same thing when we went to the streets and we were active and we threatened to overhaul the legislative body. The president had to act quickly. So I would say that it has to come from the people. The people have to voice their opinion, go up there and actually, through popular revolution, remove the president, remove the legislative body, wash the JSC and the judicial system. Then we can have a new IBC and get leaders that will actually respect this constitution. Because if they see that we remove that president and we remove the legislative body, the new members of the legislative body and the president executive will respect the people, because the respect people have demanded that the constitution has to respect it. Without that, I think we'll just
I,
keep on
I,
recycling
I,
these
I,
people.
I agree with you fully. And let me give you an example. You remember, even after the promulgation of the American Constitution, up
Yes,
to, and even after the Constitution gave, the blacks, what we call the equal rights,
yes,
up to the 1940s, 1950s, the blacks were not enjoying, equal rights with the whites in the United States. It took
yes.
people like Wakina Rosa Parks, people like Wakina Malcolm X, people like Wakina Martin Luther King, to stand up. The agitation, continued up to 1950s, up to 1960s, I believe up to 1970s. People like Wakina Andrew Young, they came in, to fight hard for the recognition of the blacks in America. So I believe, we have a lot of work to do, and the agitation must continue. And going to the streets would be one of the way, to attain what we are calling, institutionalizing of institutions in this country, that will ensure that we have stronger institutions in form of parliament, in form of the judiciary, in form of the police. On that particular point, I agree with you.
And you made a wonderful example and point. Because yes, in the 1960s, when this civil rights law was passed, it took the people to go for mandamano in Washington D.C. That's when I have a dream. I have a dream. Speech, famous speech was given. These were civil servants, students, and all sorts of people from even members of the military. They were out there, people who are protesting against the Vietnam War. They all converged in Washington, D.C., and made their voices known. It is something similar to what I'm
let,
seeing here.
let me tell you what Martin Luther King said. He said that he has a dream that one day his kids will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. We need to attain a level where Kenyans shall never be judged by their tribe, but by the content of their character. And that can only happen when we have strong institutions in this country.
Yes, I agree with you. And that's why I'm calling for the same thing. I mean, just look at it. Gen Z just had a one mammoth protest when they went to Nairobi and they went to that parliamentary building and brought it down. And look at how these people are so scared. That's why I'm saying after that, these political elites, the same people who are perpetuating the same system, corrupt system, came together very quickly to make sure that they're not overthrown. So that's the way. I mean, it's a clear path, but I guess the problem is we have to convince people to see it the same way we see, because a lot of people are still being drawn into these tribal chieftains, and they know that. That's why they're forming these coalitions and drawing everybody to them, because they are household names. So we fall into that, and maybe some of us don't know better. So that's the fight now. So I'm in agreement with you. Anyway, any last word that you want to say? Because I see, it's been 1 hour. Any last words parting shot that you would like to leave us with? Mr. Wangira, are you there?
Okay. My parting word would be to the people of Kenya. I want to tell the people of Kenya that, despite having promulgated our constitution 15 years ago, we have a lot of work to do. For this particular constitution to work, we have a lot of work to do. So, we must continue, pushing and, blowing life into this constitution, because it is only this constitution that will help us. But if we leave things where they are today, it will be a case of, the new wine in the old wine skin, where, the leadership and the powers of the country are personalized. And when the powers of the country are personalized, nobody is safe. And when nobody is safe, then you see abductions, you see the killings that we are seeing in Kenya today. That would be my parting point.
Thank you so much, Wangira, and I thank you everyone in the chat. Keep real, Labani, Misiani, Green, Pritpal Kaur, everybody else who was part of it, and of course, Mr. Wangira, who made this live very interesting with his very, very, very wonderful information and historical background of the Tutsis and the Hutsis and the Congo conflict and Kagame and how Ramaphosa comes in and all that. I see on the comments section, everyone is fighting about Raila Odinga and the and the AU. Let's see what happens. I don't know when is the thing. Are they voting next week? Or when is it? 20? I don't even know when is it. But we'll see what happens after Raila wins or loses. We'll be here. Na tutaichambua chambu champ. So the topic today was not about Raila Odinga, so I'm not going to address that. But anyway, thank you so much, Jared. Thank you so much, everyone who has been here. And if you're going to watch this on repeat, please like, share, comment, and do all the good stuff. And make sure you hit the notification bell, so every time I come in live, you can find me here. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you guys later. Peace and blessings.